Hello, and welcome to the Flickering Torch, and today we're doing a rules explanation for Knights Black Agents. Okay, Knights Black Agents is a gumshoe-based game where the players are taking on the role of secret agents, hunting down the supernatural forces of vampires, or perhaps Lovecraft, or there's a game mode in there for just playing regular spy thrillers. Now, ability tests in this game work a little bit differently to some of the other systems we've already discussed. So I'm going to teach you how to play that so you can get jumped right into the game. And also, you'll be able to figure out what's going on really quickly in the live stream that we're planning to do of Knights Black Agents. So, how do they work? So in Knights Black Agents, your ability scores are basically split up into two different categories. You've got investigative abilities, and you've got general abilities. Now, investigative abilities are going to be stuff like history knowledge, forensics, forgery, and general abilities are going to be like driving, shooting, athletics, those kinds of things. So these have slightly different rule systems, but they're fairly similar and they're quite easy to pick up. Investigative abilities. This is sort of the easiest, most basic version of an ability. So, let's say you've got a forgery investigative ability. You've got 2 in that. Now you might be thinking 2, that's quite low. But in Knights Black Agents, it's definitely not. For investigative abilities, a 1 means you're a world-class expert. Right, so we've got our 2, and the GM describes us walking into this den where stacks of money's piled high. He might then ask you, the GM might ask you, does anyone have forgery? And if you even have 1 point in forgery and you put your hand up and you say, yes, I know forgery, he'll give you the clue that all of this cash is forged. Everything in this room is fake. Now, you don't actually have to roll any dice or anything like that with investigative abilities because Gumshoe isn't about the players having to roll to find clues. It's about the players will get the clues because that's what propels the story forward. So, any investigative abilities, if you have the investigative ability, you can find the clue. If you've got a skill like, I want to do a forgery or I need to do some digital forensic, your point pools aren't ability modifiers, they're pools of points you can spend on those things. So you might want to spend 1 in forgery so you can create the perfect passports to get you and your team into this country that you need to go into. Instead of you always having that +2, you've spent that point in forgery, and until you can get those ability scores to refresh, essentially you've got less forgery you can do. So that's our main key difference between Knights Black Agents. Your ability score isn't a score, it's a pool of points. So how does this translate into general abilities? These are things like shooting, fighting, driving. These are things that you have to actively do. Now, unlike the investigative abilities where if you have it, the GM will let you do it, in general abilities, you're going to be making ability tests. This is going to make it sad for all the people who collect a lot of dice, but in Knights Black Agents, you only need the 1d6, and pretty much everything is decided by the 1d6, and almost everything is going off target number 4. So, how a test will work. Let's say you need to very quickly drive around a corner while you're being pursued with guys on motorbikes. Okay, so you have 4 points in driving, let's say. You can choose to spend 2 points to do this one really awesome maneuver, drift around the corner so the bikes fly off onto the Riviera. Okay, so you spend those 2 points and they just work like a modifier now, so they work like a +2 on that d6. So you might be thinking, wait, I could just spend 6 points and instantly achieve something. Yes, you could definitely do that, but that means those are 6 points you can't spend later on. Obviously, don't be cheap with your points, spend them where you can, but it is this kind of almost like an economy that you have to measure where your character is going to be awesome in that session. So you might want to spend those 6 points at the start of the session, but that means at the end of the session you're relying on all of your teammates to help you get through a firefight with some werewolves or something. And that's a really cool thing about Knights Black Agents, and it's kind of a pain to track on a character sheet, so I would recommend doing something digital. But yeah, it's really awesome that you can decide that your character is going to have an awesome moment. Another awesome thing is MOS, or Military Occupational Specialty. Now, all characters have an MOS, and it's usually a general ability. And this is your thing, like, you're the best at your MOS. So if it's driving or if it's shooting, you are the best driver or the best shooter, and you should really all have different ones in your party to kind of evenly balance it out and also allow everyone to have a really badass moment. So let's say your MOS is driving, the same Riviera scene. Let's say that those two cars, yeah, they split off into the Riviera, but then like 3 black SUVs come out of nowhere and they're chasing you down. And you're like, oh, I've not really got the points for this. If your military occupational specialty is driving, you just turn to the GM and you say, okay, here's what happens. And you narrate the whole scene of how you get away. It basically allows you to take the narrative control for yourself. If it's shooting, you can be like, yeah, I've done this shot before. Here's a flashback. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm loading in a new bolt, slamming it back. You know, you get to choose how the scene plays out. And this is really, really cool because it means, again, you get to choose when your character has that badass moment. And that's kind of it. That's all you need to know. They're pools of points that you can spend to be awesome or to do awesome things. And I really hope you enjoy the game. I think the setting's really, really awesome. I think the system is quite intriguing. And I'm really excited to see how it's going to play out on our streamed game. So yeah, this has been The Flickering Torch. Please like and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.